So we talked before about factoring, and we talked about how factoring is basically unmultiplying, right? So factoring is unmultiplying. So we've had things where we had like 3x squared plus 6, and we factored that and said that's the same as 3 times x squared plus 2, right? That's called a GCF factoring, greatest common factor, okay? And it's basically undoing a distributive property. What we're going to look at today is we're going to undo the type of polynomial multiplying that we've been doing previously. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I'm going to start with something like x squared plus 3x plus 2, and I'm going to factor this into two sets of parentheses like this. Okay, remember how we did expansion boxes with these, right? And we would multiply these together. We said we put the x plus 1 over here and the x plus 2 over here, and you get x squared and 2x and 1x and 2. And when I combine my like terms, I'm going to get this, right? X squared, right? 3x and 2. So that is the kind of unmultiplying that we're doing today. We're factoring things that look like this, okay? And we're going to use this for most of our quadratic trinomials. So let's take a look at this guy, and we're going to kind of work through this. So first of all, I have this lovely little setup here for you. This is kind of a shortcut method that you can use, okay? So I have this expression, and instead of putting numbers here, I gave you two symbols, a smiley face and a hashtag, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to always set it up where it's going to look like this. So two sets of parentheses with an X in the front of each one. All right, and we want to fill these parentheses, these gaps here, we want to fill those holes in with two numbers. So the two numbers in the blanks, we want them to multiply to whichever number is here at the end where I put that hashtag. So they have to multiply to this number right here, and they have to add to this number right here. Okay, so we want it to multiply to this guy and add to this guy. That's going to be very important. Okay, and also important is the signs of the numbers. You have to make sure that you're really careful about positives and negatives when you do this. All right, so let's take a look at these. We're going to do some examples. So this guy right here, all right, I know that this is this type of problem because it's got an x squared at the front, right? And it's got two other guys with it, right? X squared plus 5x plus 6. So see how it goes? Squared and then regular x and then no x. X squared, regular x, no x. X squared, regular x, no x. That's one of your big cues that you need this method. So let's set this up. So we're going to start with our two sets of parentheses, and I'm going to go ahead and put an x in the front of each one. All right, and I need two numbers that multiply to positive 6, because it's a plus 6, and add to positive 5. So two things that multiply to positive 6 and add to positive 5. So things that multiply to 6, I'm going to make a little list. 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6, and that's it, right? So we need to be multiplied to a positive, so they have to either both be positive numbers or both negative numbers. And I wanted to add to positive 5. 1 plus 6 would be 7, that's not it. But 2 plus 3, that works. Okay, so I want this to be positive 2 and positive 3. So it's x plus 2 times x plus 3. And that's our factored form. All right, next one. Same thing. So we want to multiply to this guy and add to this guy. All right, and notice since it says minus 8, we're going to treat that like it's a negative 8. So we want two things that multiply to negative 8 and add to negative 7. Okay, so let's set this up. So two sets of parentheses, x in the front of each one. And I want it to multiply to negative 8. So I'm going to make a little list of all the things that multiply to 8. So 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and I think that's it. But if they're going to multiply to a negative, that means one of these two numbers has to be negative. Okay, so I'm going to have to make one of the numbers negative. So my options are either it could be a negative 1 with a positive 8, or it could be a positive 1 with a negative 8. Or it could be a negative 2 with a positive 4, or a positive 2 and a negative 4. Okay, so we have to decide where the negative is going to go. All right, so we need a pair of these that are going to add to -7. So let's try them. -1 plus 8. 1 fire, 8 buckets of water. That's going to give me +7. So close, but not quite. -2 plus 4, that adds to +2. That's not what we want either. 1 plus -8, so 1 bucket of water, 8 fires. I'm going to have 7 fires left over, -7, right? So that's it. This is the pair of numbers that I want. So in my parentheses, it's a +1, so I'm going to write +1, and then -8, so I'm going to write -8. Okay, and that's your answer. Now, you could have also written this. That's the same answer. So see how the minus sign is still with the 8 in each one, and the plus sign is with the 1 in each one? Those are the same thing, and you can write it either way, and you'll still get it right. It's the same thing. All right, let's try this guy. Okay, so again, I need two numbers that multiply to 20 and add to -12. So get my setup, 2 sets of parentheses, x in the front of each one. And let's make a list of everything that multiplies to 20. So 1 times 20, 2 times 10. I'm kind of going in order over here. So I tried 1, I tried 2. Next I'm going to try 3. 3 doesn't evenly go into 20, so we'll skip that. So next number would be 4, and 4 goes into 25 times. The next number I'd try would be 5, and since that's already in my list, that's your cue that you got them all. All right, so we need to multiply to +20, but they need to add to -12. And positive numbers can never add to a negative. Okay, so to multiply to +20, they have to have the same sign. So the fact that they need to add to a negative, that tells me that all of these guys are going to have to be negative. They still, each pair multiplies to +20, but now they'll add to something negative. So let's try it. -1 plus -20, that's going to be -21. That's not it. -2 plus -10, that's -12, right? 2 fires and 10 more fires. So it's going to be x minus 2 and x minus 10. All right, last one. So we need two things that are going to multiply to 9 and add to -6. So 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to put the x in front for both. And then I'm going to make a list of everything that multiplies to 9. So 1 times 9 is 9. 2 I would try next, but 2 doesn't evenly go into 9. But 3 does. 3 goes in 3 times. And since I've already reached that number on the list, I know I've gotten them all. Okay, so we need them to multiply to +9 and add to -6. So to multiply to a positive, they both have to have the same sign, either both positive or both negative. But if you need to add to a negative, that means they're going to have to both be negative. Because 2 positives are always going to add to a positive, right? So that means everything's going to have to be negative here. So I need a pair of these that are going to add to -6. -1 plus -9, -10, that's not it. -3 plus -3, that's -6. So it's going to be x minus 3 times x minus 3. So it worked out to be the same thing for both of them. And that's it. That's how you factor trinomials. Okay, so again, the key feature with these that kind of tells me that this is what I need to do is the fact that it starts with an x squared, and then it's got something with a regular x, and then a number by itself. That's sort of like the visual cue. And you always need it to multiply to the number at the end and add to the number in the middle.